It is so cringe, and it's so hard to accept within yourself that you might have something that other people are jealous of. I always wondered why I was treated differently or why I seemingly had a hard time with making friends or being around other people. As a little girl in very early grade school, I remember one incident with a teacher. We were watching a movie that day, and the teacher was setting up the television so the kids could watch the movie. I was in the front row of the classroom, and I had my head down on my arm looking up. My teacher pointed her finger and brought it all the way down to my little face and told me, "Go stand in the corner." I didn't understand why. I hadn't done anything to deserve that. I wasn't really being punished for anything other than for who knows what. When you're a kid, you don't really question authority. So I never mentioned it. It just remained a memory in my head. There were other times with other kids when the other kids just didn't want anything to do with me. I remember one time standing next to another little girl on the playground and trying to be her friend. She looked at me and said, "Please go away." She didn't want me standing next to her for some reason. Of course, there were times when I was also bullied for no reason. I just thought it was part of being a kid. Looking back now, I know I was being targeted. Probably for being pretty. Probably for triggering something inside of people. It made me feel really bad. It made me feel like something was wrong with me or people just didn't like me. I didn't know why. Nobody ever explained it. Then there were times when I was a bit older, maybe preteen age, and suddenly my friends, they would start excluding me from things, or they would be talking behind my back or grouping off without me and excluding me from the group. This left me to internalize. They never said why. It was just another repeated pattern, a sudden, unexplained behavior that I was seeing from other people. I had 3 pretty important friendships in school, and after school, all of those relationships deteriorated, but not on my end. I was confused. I didn't know why suddenly these people didn't want me in their life anymore. I didn't know why suddenly their lives were a secret. They wouldn't tell me anything that was happening with them until afterwards. And they would make plans to move away, to go to college, and I wasn't part of those plans. It was really sad, and it was something that really hurt me. Eventually, I made new friends, and eventually the same pattern would show itself again. If I were out one night with a group of girls and one of the girls met a guy, she would flat out tell me she didn't want the guy to see me. She didn't want her new boyfriend to see me. So she would take him out the back exit, and I wouldn't see her again. Once again, I just internalized it. I was confused. I didn't understand why I was being treated like this. And finally, my friend told me, "You're the pretty friend. So if I go out with you, I'm not going to get as much attention if I go out with Jerry." Another issue that would come in would be the imitation, the weird, strange imitation that some people would do. They would copy everything I did. For example, as a young 20-something working in an office, I decided to do an at-home nail kit. No one ever made comments about my nails. Instead, they just all ran out and did the same thing. It was awkward watching these women come in with their own at-home acrylic nails, and they would stand in a circle close enough to where I could hear and brag about and fawn and go on about each other's nails. It was very strange. Another thing you might experience growing up pretty is being treated differently by your family. As a young woman, I was stalked relentlessly by my family members. They would actually make a habit of driving by my house, looking in my windows, trying to catch me doing something so they could bring it up to me later. One time at a family gathering, my grandmother looked at me in the face and said, "Whose red truck was that parked outside your house?" The red truck belonged to my roommate's brother. So it was still embarrassing, but at least there was an explanation that time. My young adult friendships also crumbled because while I was at work, I found out that my friend group had decided to go on a trip without me, somewhere that I always talked about wanting to go. My friend was texting me while I was on the clock. I pulled my phone out and looked down at the text. They were bragging about how awesome this place was, how fun it was. But nobody invited me. It was very disappointing. It was sad. I became very depressed. Being excluded, having trouble with friendships, having trouble in relationships, not understanding why I was being treated a certain way. I was so naive because I didn't treat people that way. I used to stare at my own face in the mirror, wondering if I was giving off some type of a signal, wondering if I was just unapproachable. But there was a pattern. The pattern was that eventually other women who became friends with me would turn against me and discard me. And sometimes they enjoyed it. Sometimes they befriended me just to do this. And I began to see the pattern, sadly, because it just kept happening. I'm sad that I couldn't form long-lasting relationships or friendships. I'm really sad. I still have friends now that will casually talk to me on social media, but never make an effort to meet up when they come to town. And it's not for lack of trying on my end. I always get some excuse. I can't. I'll be too busy. We have to leave in a day. There's always an excuse, so eventually I just stop trying. Jealousy is a difficult emotion to understand and deal with because I don't even think people realize sometimes how they're behaving or how insecure they're being, and you can't fix other people. I've been in some really bad situations with friends as well, and I guess the takeaway I'll leave you with here is that if you are a woman and you know other people or other women are jealous of you, it's really dangerous. It's dangerous for you to be around. There are times where other women have unalived women that they were jealous of. You don't need anyone else. Learn how to love yourself.